Well, good afternoon, everybody. How you doing back there, John?
Doing really well. Beautiful
No,
day out.
another lovely day in the world of Flaminpit. So today on the phone I have Miss Nicole Jackson. How you doing, Nicole?
I am doing great. Thank you very much for having me.
And I've been looking so forward to talking to you because John has said so many things about you. So let's just see if they're all true or not.
Yes.
So now let's talk about what it is that you do because I'm looking at your bio and it seems to be a lot for a person of your age. So let's talk about what it is, the kind of programs and everything that you're involved with. Or
Yes. Go ahead. Finish. Sorry. I
no,
interrupted.
no, I was just thinking when we were talking, it's like some things I can't say. So I'm like,
Oh, no, it's completely fine. I work as an environmental educator at Franklin Park Conservatory and Botanical Gardens in Columbus, Ohio. So I work as an educator, so I do a lot of programs for pre-K all the way up to 12th grade school groups, and I also put together programming for the rest of the year. So we have exhibits that we do, and we have programming for kids, families, college students. It varies. But it's all horticulture inspired. We do have beautiful gardens here at the conservatory. So we base a lot of our programming around our gardens and just the space that we have outside and inside as well.
now when it says you majored in parks, recreation, and tourism, what kind of degree is that?
So my official degree was a Bachelor of Science in Natural Resources. I went to the Ohio State University, and my major was Parks, Recreation, and Tourism. But it involves environmental education and interpretation. So not like interpretation as in, interpreting a language, but environmental education programming. So delivering programs specifically focused on environmental education and public spaces.
So that's you work in a field where you want to get people up and moving, pretty much get them outside and following the same kind of thing that John does.
Yeah, so getting them outside, specifically getting them connected to nature and the outdoors in urban environments. So that's kind of my focus and what I've wanted to do for a few years now. Originally, I actually wanted to do veterinary medicine. I've wanted to do that since I was maybe 9 or 10 years old. And then I realized it wasn't something for me once I went to college and started taking courses and everything. It's just like I need something more. So I ended up doing this independent study at Ohio State University. I think it was my junior year. And it was a landscape ecology research program, and I looked at bird populations. So I did this independent study for about 3.5 months where I was literally up at 4 or 5 in the morning looking for birds, looking for nests and things like that, and recording this information. And I was not expecting it to be so much fun. That's kind of what made the connection for me as to what I wanted to do as a career.
So you were up bird watching early in the morning. Is that early bird
Yes.
that everybody's talking about?
Yeah. Early in the morning.
Bird.
Like the sun hasn't even come up yet. It's pretty dark outside, but it was brutal. I tell you, that's not something for everybody. So.
Right. So what about like raccoons and squirrels and stuff like that? Is that all part of something you'd be interested in, or what if it was your main focus of outdoors stuff? What would it be?
So my thing is just teaching people about the outdoors and what it can bring into your life, whether it's spiritual, educational, just the enjoyment of it. What you can get out of being outside and just revealing things to people that they wouldn't normally pay attention to when it comes to, being outside. Usually in an urban environment, you just think of, a concrete jungle,
Yeah.
and, there's really nothing around, so why would I be entertained by being outside? But, even in urban environments, you can find, birds, wildlife, water, those things are still there. It's just there's more people around, more buildings. It's just, you taking the time to, seek those things out and gaining that experience.
So do you have a hard time getting kids out? You say you work from what, pre-K or kindergarten to 12, what grades? And do you find kids not wanting to be out there, especially in the winter time? They're like, it's too cold. We're in Ohio. It's too cold.
Yeah, you get a lot of complaints. I know with doing interpretive programming, you're specifically talking about, history. You can talk about culture. You can talk about the environment. But when it comes to having groups outside or just groups in general, and you're doing programs, you got to meet their basic needs first before you get to the actual program, or else you've lost them. So, where the bathroom is, will I get my feet wet? Will I be stepping in mud? How far am I going to be walking? Things like that. You have to reveal that stuff in the very beginning, or people are just going to be upset the rest of the time, and they're just like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I feel like, even if you have some people that are hesitant, if you meet those needs first, they become more comfortable with the situation, and they're, I guess, more open to learning more.
So you don't do the glamping thing, you do the real camping.
Yeah, so there's, it can be camping, it can be biking, kayaking, birding. I know with birding, especially in urban environments, people just give me these looks of confusion, like, why are birds interesting?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have any birds.
It's boring to them.
Yeah.
But me being an educator, I show them that it can be fun. It takes a lot of patience, but it can be fun, especially during the different seasons of what, you're paying attention to in terms of birds' behavior, their singing, their mating rituals, all that stuff. It's very intriguing once you take the time to understand it more and just, have those experiences in your everyday life.
Well, let me ask you this strange question. Why is it that seagulls that are supposed to be by the water, why do they love Kmart and Walmart parking lots so much?
So those are actually not seagulls. They're called gulls, so it's just a Gulls.
Oh, so they're not seagulls, they're just gulls. I don't know the difference.
Yeah, they're just gulls. But at the same time, it's because I relate it to Canada geese. Those are everywhere. Yeah. And people, that you just have people that are just like, why are there so many of them? I wish they were gone. But you have to think about your behavior and how you're affecting them staying in an area. So people feed them, bread,
right,
chips, stuff that we would eat on a regular basis. We're feeding them on a constant basis. So for them, to think about migrating, they're like, why do I need to migrate when I'm getting this free food all the time? So it's the same thing with the gulls, it's free access to food. They don't have to work for it.
Right.
And, they just stick around.
So now what's the difference between a gull and a seagull?
I think it does have to do with the location, but you also want to pay attention to their field marks. So like the colors on their feathers, their beaks, you have different colors, different shapes. So you're looking at their habitat as well as their features, depending on where you are, in the world. So
well, at Cedar
it all
Point,
depends on that.
At Cedar Point, they'll pretty much come and take your food right out your hand. So I figure.
Yes, because they're very used to humans being around, so they have no fear whatsoever. They're just like, I'm just aiming to get the food. That's all. I don't really care if, people are freaking out, throwing things at me. That's their focus is getting the food.
I know they're scary because when I come through Walmart parking lot, I try to run them down. I be like, get out of the way, get out of the way.
Yes, and they tend to cluster because they're just like, it's simple for them. They don't have to, they're not, in their, natural habitat per se. So it's like, why even go through all that effort?
Do you ever deal with anything like wild turkeys?
I actually worked at a residential camp, and this was in a rural area, so like out in Amish country, and I did programming there for 6 months. So most of these kids that I did programming with were 4-H kids, so they were used to, raising cattle, like sheep and
Yeah.
cows and things like that. So every now and then we would see turkeys because we have this huge hill that we would go up and do programs on, and we would see the turkeys just kind of grazing. And during the colder months, they would kind of flock together. So for me, I was used to seeing that, but I never had any like bad experiences with the birds. So I guess that's a good thing.
Well, let me tell you, they fly, and I didn't know it. And I was out in the country, and this thing was so big, he flew across in front of me, and I about freaked out. I thought it was a UFO. I took off going. I was like, hit that gas. That was the biggest bird I've ever seen. He just flew across the front of my car. I was like, what the? Woo! I didn't know.
Yeah, if you're not used to seeing that, yes, it can be very scary and terrifying.
I didn't know what it was, but I didn't want to be there anymore.
Yeah. The same with vultures. I noticed that a lot when I was out there too. There'd just be 4 or 5 vultures, and these birds are huge.
Ooh.
Just sitting in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Feasting on something dead, a deer or something that got hit by a car, and they just, you get close enough to them. They're pretty big birds, so it's pretty scary.
Right. So now, I see you are part of the 2014 Outdoor Afro Leadership Team. So now, what is an afro? Is that with the little puffs that you have on your hair?
So the Outdoor Afro program was started by Rue Mapp. So she lives in California, and she is fantastic. I found out about her through a friend that I met at a conference, and I was referred to her, and then she's like, yeah, you should apply for their leadership team, because I didn't realize that she had the leadership team in previous years. I think she put it together in 2009, and it was just to help represent the rest of the U.S. in getting people together, specifically social communities, to connect African Americans to natural spaces. So things like, camping, hiking, biking, birding, anything that you can think of, getting people outside and connected to nature. She, kind of spearheaded that. So she was committed to sharing how people and organizations can connect to broader audiences, and she realized that new possibilities in the outdoor exploration. So for Rue, it was more of, we need more people, we need more leaders to get this, message out there. So she selected, I believe, 15 people this year, and I was the first person selected from Ohio specifically. So we had, a few from Georgia, Kentucky, California. There's a few places in California, and I think it was 15 total, but we're all pretty much getting people outside and connected to nature, like locally, so within our communities. So for me, it's taking a little time because, a lot of people still aren't familiar with Outdoor Afro.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just, taking little steps. Eventually, I'll get to the point of, having a huge group of people that are interested, and just for now, it's just getting the word out, and then, connecting people with the recreational events that I put together. So.
Well, I think it would be fun if the next group you get together, they all be required to have an afro.
Yeah, I do have a lot of people that have, for me, have connected with me, and they have their natural hair. I wear my natural hair, and people know me because specifically because I wear a flower in my hair a lot.
Uh-huh.
So that's how they recognize me, which I think is pretty cool. So
Right.
yeah, that makes it better.
I think it would be funny if you would say, okay, to join this, everybody had to have an afro. So, I mean, I could see people just going, what? And then you'd be like, okay, just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, they will really be thrown off.
Right. So now some of these topics I have never even heard of, because I guess I've just never thought about ecology as much, but it's like in urban environmental education, environmental education in faith-based communities, and capacity building. I don't even know what any of that is. I'm totally lost.
So we're just, I mean, I've like you mentioned before, you notice that there's a long list of things that I've done and am a part of. So for me, it's connecting environmental education with kind of stuff that we're doing already in society. So whether it be tying environmental education into technology, so using technology to get people outside and connected to nature. Because I mean, nowadays you have the iPhones and the iPads, and people are just like, why do I need to go outside? I have my phone, or I have this electronic that keeps me entertained. But with our generation, it's so many people are used to just being indoors and watching TV or talking on the phone. They're not really active. They're not really getting out and moving.
Yeah.
So in order to, kind of move that message forward, you need to connect with people on a level that they're familiar with. So if we can use technology to get people outside, why not? We don't want to tear technology down and just be like, okay, that's not the answer. We don't, people shouldn't have technology in their lives. It's just a different way of thinking about it in relation to getting people outside. And the same thing with the faith-based communities. So, churches, having your pastor think about, taking a youth group, a church youth group, on a hike. Going back to the conversation I was having earlier with you, where the residential camp that I used to work at, we actually did have, this was a female, older, church group that came to do, a retreat at the campsite. And, they were outside, they were hiking, they were worshiping outside. And, it's just like, this is awesome, to have them connect to nature on a spiritual level, and use that to their advantage was great. So if we can do that, in urban environments and, have church groups, connect to nature on that level, that makes it even better.
Well, it's hard to get people to drop their phones, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's very hard. It's very hard.
Because
you gotta be innovative.
Yeah,
you gotta think outside the box.
And they're like, you're not getting my phone. That's the first thing. Because I see too many kids in groups walking down the street and everybody's on the phone talking to somebody else. And one day they were walking by and they were all on the phone, and I asked them, I said, are you guys all talking to each other? And they just looked at me like I was crazy. I just wanted to know, because when I was a kid and we would all be in groups walking, we were walking to talk to each other and have fun. We weren't talking to be on the phone. Either they're texting somebody else or they're talking on the phone to somebody else. And I'm saying, why are you with me if you talking to your friends? They just, I don't think they get it. It's not like, I'm a country girl and we had to find ways of having fun. So we were always outside. We weren't allowed to come inside except to eat and take your bath, do your homework, go to bed. Otherwise,
exactly.
we had to find something to do outside. And now everybody's, they're in the house, they're on cell phones and all the gadgets. They play in PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't know. It is like, just to get them out there moving around has to be a task, and I guess in the summer when school is out, then that's when they need to do a lot of that stuff for real, because a lot of places don't even have any kind of summer programs for kids, and they just pretty much walk up and down the street all summer.
Yeah, and that's really scary to me that we have a lot of programs that are beneficial to kids, especially during the summer. They're cut because of budgeting crisis, and like we just don't have enough funding, so this is the first thing to go. And I'm just like, what? That doesn't make any sense to me, because I feel like they need that the most. Like, as far as going to rec centers or camping programs, like I feel as though that really gets their brains going. And me being an environmental educator in terms of doing informal education, meaning, I'm outside versus a classroom. I'm thinking a lot more about, how can I get them interested in trees or, wildlife, instead of it just being this completely structured format that they're used to. They have to think more outside of the box and how, okay, I need to have more of an imagination than, okay, I need to read page, 45 about chemistry. So for me, it's looking at, okay, how can I get these kids interested in being outside, but also make it fun?
Yeah.
If it's not fun, then there's really no point in doing it. So, things like, rock climbing or hiking. So if you're going to go on a hike, add a scavenger hunt to it, or even, allow them to use their iPhones to look for certain, plants or animals. So, you have to, for me, I always have to be on my toes and thinking outside of the box to, at least get them thinking, like, this can be fun. This can be something I can do with my family or with friends.
Yeah, because I see them getting bored real quick when you're saying, okay, let's go look at that tree. Let's go look at the plants and the vegetation around the tree. They're like, yeah, right.
And that's where the lack of imagination comes in, because now with our generation now, we don't have kids that use their imagination.
Yeah.
You tell them to think of pretend to do something. You're like, pretend? Like, what is that? So, like, even just getting them to, figure that out is a struggle. So, it's really challenging. But there are, youth out there that it does. I mean, I feel like when I talk to adults, they're just like, they're a lost cause. You're never going to, break through. And I feel like it's not that they don't want to do it. You just have to show them how to learn. It's not even about it's not even about the content, because you can have kids outside, take them to the stream and do, a stream study or a pond study. And if you make it too technical, they're going to get bored. They're just like, this feels like a classroom. Why am I doing this?
Well, it turns
But then you can do, okay, let's find crayfish.
Yeah.
Let's see how many you could find, or, if we can find snakes or salamanders, things like that. You're not really telling them, okay, we're going to look for this and, write this information down. You're just first giving them an experience, and then they want the content. Once they become more interested, they'll start to ask more questions.
Yeah, because
so
otherwise,
even giving them that experience makes a world of difference.
Yeah, because then they won't think of it as so much homework than just having fun. Because sometimes when kids hate homework and you go out there and be like, okay, let's write a story about this crayfish, they're like, what?
Yeah.
I like telling stories about, when I was a kid and lived on a farm. I mean, we had all kinds of things. We had to use our imagination because there wasn't a lot of stuff to do. I mean, we made bottle dolls to play with, and they was like, what's a bottle doll? We made mud pies. They like, what? I mean, they just don't know the fun I had growing up on a farm where fed the chickens and slopped the hogs, and that was all fun to me. And they're like, what? Some kids have never seen a chicken other than in the grocery store. Once you slaughter a real chicken, they've never seen that. They've just seen it once it got packaged and put in the grocery store and shot full of yellow dye. So I told the one boy, I said, real chicken is not yellow. He's like, what? I said, no. I said, it's not yellow. I said, the skin is white. And they were just like, what? So I can see kids, you got to really work at getting them interested in doing stuff. And now you get them out there playing in the water and the mud and stuff like that, especially the younger kids. I think you'd probably wouldn't have it that hard with. But when they start getting to be teenagers and stuff like that, then I think you probably have your hands full.
Yeah, it's definitely a struggle with the older kids because you have a lot of them that are just like standoffish, like they don't want to deal with adults. They don't want to talk to them. It's just like they're less likely to open up. But you have to, be so much more patient with the older ones because I mean, you can. I feel like if you can relate to them in some way,
Mm-hmm.
then that's where you make that breakthrough. You make that, that you have that aha moment.
Yeah.
And you're not everybody's going to be on the same page. You have to go into it. I see it as you have to go into it as, you know, they don't know anything. Like you
Right.
really have to start from the beginning, or
Yeah.
you're just going to lose them.
Yeah.
So once you make that one connection, and it can be so simple, but you see their eyes light up, where they're just like, oh my gosh, I've never done this before, but it was cool. I was scared, I was freaked out, but then once I did it, I wanted to do it again, that kind of thing. And it's just like, those are the moments that you wait for, even though it might seem like it's taking
Take
forever, or it's
forever.
just like, oh my gosh, this is not going to happen. But once it happens, you're just like, okay, it's all worth it. This is why I'm doing this.
Right, right. And with you being so young, do you find like say if you have, the 11th and 12th grader boys, they be trying to so busy hit on you versus learn what you're trying to teach them?
Exactly. And then I have to bring in the attitude.
Look, I'm here to teach.
Then, like, you got to pay attention now because, yeah, you're the hormones. But you got to pay attention to, what I'm talking about instead of, staring at me and,
Yeah.
being distracted. So,
Yeah.
yeah, those are the tricky ones that you have to deal with.
So now, how long have you been involved with this, with the program, the conservatory? Because, you said at one time you thought you wanted to be a vet, and then you decided to move over into this area.
So for me, I think, let's see, I've been here for about a little over a year and a half. So I started out as a camp assistant, and then I became an educator, so full-time educator. And then I got to become the camp coordinator. So for this past year, I helped manage the camps and the staff and everything, and put that the programs together for that. Um, so yeah, I've been here for a little over a year and a half, but it's been an experience for me because before that, it's really hard finding positions, long-term positions in, conservation, environmental education, things where you're working outside because, not a lot of people are willing to give those positions up. You have a lot of people that are in these positions that have been, 10 plus years,
Right.
and they've been doing it for so long, and they're just like, I'm just going to stay here. I don't need to go anywhere, because it's secure for them. But, you have a lot of younger people coming in, and they want to have these jobs. They want to get the experience so they can move forward in their career. So it's been really tricky for me, but I know in relation to what I want to do, eventually just work in a community, an underserved community, and just, whether it be teaching, workshops or whatever, just exploring that avenue more and just getting the word out about, how important it is to get outside and learn about the outdoors.
So now, what's the difference between horticulture and botany?
So horticulture is more of knowing plants, like, their habitats, like where they're from. So here at the conservatory, we have these biomes, these kind of like rooms set up inside the conservatory, and each one is a different biome or habitat. So, for example, we have a rainforest biome, so it's all the plants you would see in a typical rainforest. So there's bromeliads, which is part of the pineapple family. We have epiphytes, which are higher up in the rainforest, but they don't even need soil to grow. They just attach to like a tree or another plant, and they grow down. We actually have orchids that grow from these too. And then we have a desert biome. So there's different habitats. So you just look at the different plants that you would see in that habitat. And then when you look at botany, you're looking at, the makeup of the plant. So like the reproduction, like how it reproduces. So you have things like ferns that use spores to reproduce, and then you have, flowers that use seeds to reproduce. So you're looking at the actual structure of the plant. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, because I never knew the difference. But I know I have plenty flower beds around my house, and I love my flower beds. I always plant perennials because the annuals I don't care much for. And this year I had such a hard time with some of my zinnias coming up. And I don't know if it was because of the animals keep going over there and peeing on the flower bed, or the squirrels digging them up. I just been having a hard time. And one side of them grew up and the other side didn't. So I'm just like, what the heck is going on? And then the bugs this year just been eating up everything. I sprayed all my plants, and then the bugs, I don't know what kind of bugs these are, but they just eat everything. All my plants got little holes in them.
Yeah, those are aphids, but you have to have not companion. There's good bugs and bad bugs. So bugs that can eat the aphids, so they don't destroy your plants. So like for instance, ladybugs or praying mantises are good to have in your garden.
No, I don't have any of those. But that's what I need. You said that's what I need to keep the bugs from eating my plants, right?
Yeah, so the ones that you don't want, because people just see bugs and they're like, get rid of them all. But you have bugs that can kill the ones that you don't want to eat your plants, or help, at least manage them, keep them out of your garden. So it's more of just doing a little bit of research, and you can have, an awesome garden and, just keep it going for the next season.
Yeah, because I'm tired of it. And along with the stray cats in the neighborhood, we just don't know. This year we've got an influx of cats. We don't know where they came from, but every time we look up, there's cats everywhere. So I need a bug to get rid of the cat. I need something. So help, I need something to get rid of the cats. Shoo them away, shoo them. We haven't figured that one out. Yeah, I'm going to have to do some more research on that one. Oh, my goodness. But, what would you tell young people if they decided that this is something they want to do? What kind of advice would you tell them, and, what would they need to do as far as classes or, anything to get into this field?
So with environmental education, you don't really have to specialize in anything. I noticed when you go to school, there's so many specialties and things like that. But with environmental education, you're learning pretty much about everything. It can be language arts, it can be science, it can be math. There's just, everything you can include in teaching, which I think is fantastic, because that helps me become a better educator, because I can use all of these different subjects to, help get across my message. And I would think my ultimate advice is networking. So just revealing your best assets to people and showing them, okay, this is me, I'm really good at this, and, this is how I want to contribute to society by, having these strengths. So that's ultimately how I got into this field, is just talking to people, really just talking to people, not, using my phone per se and texting and things like that, actually getting out there and talking to people. So I had a lot of opportunities to go to, conferences, talk to professors, classmates, and just letting them know, okay, this is what I want to do as a career. This is what experience I have, and I want to know more. I want to learn more. So how can I do that? And just talking to people who are familiar with this, field per se, and getting their advice, and not taking things too seriously. It's good to be able to explore your options and not just focus on one thing, because that's what I learned about wanting to become a veterinarian. I was so focused on doing that I, forgot to just explore.
Right,
so
right.
For me, in college, they don't teach you that. They don't teach you to just feel free to explore your options. It's just, you always have to focus on one thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like that just takes away from the experience of life. If you're not taking these options into consideration, then you're less, kind of like well-rounded. You're not really thinking about, you know, what you want to do holistically, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So,
that's why some people they say they book smart or they're street smart, but they're not both.
mhm,
I believe you should be
mhm,
both.
yeah, yeah. So for me, it's the networking, talking to people. I'm always looking for an opportunity to talk to someone, even if I don't feel like I have a connection with them.
Mhm.
Like right off the bat, I give them information about me, or I'll give them a card, or I'll take their card and I'll like write on the back, I had this conversation with this person. Maybe they can help me later down the line. And it's building that, doing that asset mapping. So you're looking at it as, okay, what can they do for me? What can I do for them? And building those relationships in that manner instead of it being, okay, yeah, I talked to them. I probably won't see them again. Because
Yeah.
you never know. You might lose an opportunity to develop that relationship or, find an opportunity later down the line.
Yeah, that's true. Opportunities come in all shapes and sizes. You always got to be open to them, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, anyways, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to get on the phone and tell us about what you do because some of these things, like I learn a lot when I talk to people from doing stuff like this because, like I said, I didn't know the difference between horticulture and botany, but now I do. Ask me
Mhm.
anything. Ask me anything. Ask me, John. Ask me. I know.
That's awesome. I'm glad I can help you with that.
I'm gonna just be going around now and be like, hey, you know the difference between horticulture and botany? I know.
Okay, I'll ask you a question. Where does belly button let come from?
He, you hear what he said?
You said ask you anything.
You hear what he said? He said, where does belly button lint come from?
Well, that accumulates just like dust.
Well, there you
So
go.
you have an issue there.
Yeah.
I don't have the issue. I just thought it was like one of those things that she said, ask anything. That's one of those imponderables that I've never been able to come up with a solution to.
Yeah, when people say, oh, I got lint in my belly button, I guess that comes from your clothes, everything touching you and your towel.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
you dry off with your towel and stuff, I knew that. That was an easy one. But anyways, Nicole, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. And I'll thank John for referring you to me because we had such fun today talking to you. I learned so much, and I hope you had a good time on the Flaminpit Show.
Thank you very much for having me. It was awesome.
And thank you so much. So we will talk to you later.
You as well. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh. So, John, now we know where belly button lint comes from.
Yep, and I know the difference between
Horticulture and botany.
Yep. My sister actually she took horticulture class by accident when she was in high school. She at this skill center. She thought she was signing up for like flower arrangement, floral stuff.
Right.
And basically they did balling and burlapping of trees and learning how to trim trees and when this happens to a tree, this is what's going on with it chemically. So that's basically the brass tacks
Of horticulture.
That's what horticulture is.
Yeah, my neighbor knew what it was. He said he used to do it back and he was in the World War I or II or something like that. And I was like, well, okay, because he'd come over and he'd say, oh yeah, that tree right there, there's something wrong with that and blah blah. And I'd just be like, okay, if you say so. And then when I had a tree cut down in the backyard recently, I noticed that it was rotted from the inside out. It was just a matter of time before a strong wind came and tipped it over. And after we cut it down, the whole inside was just mush. So whatever got inside of it just ate all the inside out.
Yeah, we had a big tree like that in our backyard too. It was about 11 foot in diameter. It was massive.
Yeah.
And, we always thought they're cutting it down to make an expansion on the house, and it's a good thing we did because otherwise, next to a storm, we could have that on top of the house.
Ours would have fallen into the wires and darkened the whole block. But anyways, I'm glad we had the chance to talk to Nicole today, and so we learned a lot of fun stuff today, ecology type stuff. We know how to get outside and do stuff. And in saying that, it's Flaminpit, and we're out.